you with more information. Rainier Valley Radio.
Radio. Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Cliff, your friendly neighborhood agitator, and I am joined in the studio by my producer, Mr. Daniel Bellis. Appreciate you, Daniel. And you are listening to the Unmasked Agenda here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And this is your bi-weekly slice of political commentary, analysis, a couple of pop culture hot takes, and I am hoping enjoyable and insightful conversation for all of you. Anyway, we are continuing this month with some really good, and I would say a first in our show. Really good conversation, but it's definitely a first, pardon me, where we are actually going to have a little bit of a split format. So I would like to invite on our first guests, Zahid and Melissa Chaudhry. And you all might remember Miss Melissa Chaudhry from our first, or rather our second episode in season 1. She's a congressional candidate, local activist, campaigner, and all-around awesome person. And also joining her tonight will be her husband, Zahid Chaudhry, someone who has been fighting for freedom both on the inside, from the inside of unjust detention facilities, and most notably a veteran of these United States and someone who has literally fought for our freedom on the front lines. And I am so happy to be joined by the two of them this evening. Zahid, Melissa, Zahid, y'all on? Y'all with us? Hello? Hello? Okay, it seems like there's some technical difficulties on their end. So let's see. For this, and okay.
There we go. Can you hear us now?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Wouldn't be the 21st century without some technical difficulties.
I know.
I'm going to have to be working.
We can't hear him.
Do I just like
No,
give like an impromptu review of a film? That's like going through my head. I'm like, okay, what have I seen recently that I really want to review? Or should we, Daniel and I just talk about like some of our like favorite fictional Black characters, because this is still Black History Month, and we stand on the shoulders of giants, of course. But
Sure
Zahid,
do.
Melissa, it's great to join you. We appreciate you joining us.
Good to be
Are
here.
you able to turn on your cameras?
Yes.
Oh, is that not on? It shows us on for us.
It shows us on for us.
We have been seeing ourselves as on for minutes now. Ain't that fun? What
Aye.
is going on?
You know what is okay? As a millennial, I'll say I have twisted the camera in my face enough, like too many times, enough where I'm kind of embarrassed to say how many times I've had the camera facing the wrong way. But you know what? Let's dive into it. So how are you two doing?
Hanging in there. I'd be doing better if the technical difficulties were sorted out, my friend. But we're hanging in there. It's been incredible to have him back. But nothing can replace that time, and nothing can replace the harm that's been done, especially to the kids. Our kids are 2.5 and just over 1. One of them's sick right now. But Zahid will tell you what Selma does with him.
Okay, so first we're talking about, rather than Black fictional characters, why don't we talk about real characters, real giants? I mean, Malcolm X lives in my heart. I hope he lives in your heart. The really profound people. So unfortunately they didn't stay alive long enough, but they made changes in course of history. So
Zahid, I'm glad you brought that up. And a man after my own heart. In addition to Malcolm X, Fred Hampton is someone who's close to my heart. Absolutely, the legendary Black Panther and coalition leader. And actually, I just want to take this moment to give a special shout out in maybe just a moment of silence for the late Reverend Jesse Jackson,
Mm.
who passed away earlier this week.
Legend. May you rest in power.
Thank you. Yes. I don't know if you can see our fist, but okay.
But there,
Yes, totally. Mean it.
Aye. So,
My daughter, our daughter, wakes up in the middle of the night quite a few times every few days, and she comes to me and tugs at my hand and say, "Baba, Baba." I said, "What?" "Salma," and she says, Salma says to me, says, "Baba, I hope they never take you again." So I thought this intergenerational trauma will end with us. It hasn't ended with us. And it is painful that, what happened to me. My father was a refugee. My grandmother was a refugee. Before that, we fought the colonizers, the British, for 200 years, the foreign invaders. And then my father saw the slaughter of his grandparents in front of his eyes as a 10-year-old boy. I thought this intergenerational trauma, which which changes our epigenetics and DNA, we hope that it will change, and it hasn't. And it's so sad to see a 2.5-year-old little girl, our daughter, going through all those pain and suffering. And then she comes in the daytime, "Baba, Baba, can I sit on your lap?" I said, "Okay, sit on my..." And then she says, "Baba, when I grow up, I want to be a judge." I said, "What? Judge? What do you know? What is a judge? What does a judge do? Why do you want to be a judge?" She said, "Baba, so I can help innocent people." I wanted her to be a just child, just play and be happy. Don't worry about this grown-up world, this racism, this kind of hatred, this kind of supremacy of certain demographic. But it's so sad. So this is what the damage is, and it's painful. It's very painful. Yeah, go ahead.
So if you don't mind me asking you, and I appreciate you sharing that, I would like to continue here a little bit more specifically, and I apologize for interrupting. Just want to make sure we zoom in on some of these points. So, you've already shared a lot about your story, and I appreciate that. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your activism, because some people may not know, and in fact, I want to highlight the book that Melissa wrote, the about your story, "Service and Sacrifice: One American Soldier's Fight to Defend the U.S. Constitution." The untold story of Melissa and Zahid Chaudhry. But you also are an activist, and could you share a little bit more about your activism?
Sure. I have been an activist nearly all my life. So my awakening started when I went to the Japanese internment sites back in the 1990s. I went to the sites of the Japanese internment sites. I've cried there. I've meditated there all day, and I said, how could a country who talks about these things can do that? And that led me to Malcolm X, and then led me to another thing. Then we find out that we, the people, our struggles are together, and that's why an American soldier's fight to defend the U.S. Constitution is the same thing. That when they take away our constitutional rights, that is the glue which holds us all together. This is the foundation that we all agree on as a country. Mm-hmm. And that takes it away, then it's everything is fair game. Yeah. So those are the points that. I have been from the very beginning of One America, Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network, and many of the things. Even today, I testified, at Washington State Senate for jurisdiction over health and safety inspections at ICE Detention Center. So the work doesn't end. To me, that is the real world work that we need to do. I mean, they say thank you for your service. That was good, but this is even better. This is a real, even more profound and deep service outside of it. So yes, I was a TV talk show host, vice president of a TV station, and I brought in lots of different faces, folks. And I don't know if you folks know that I asked Pramila Jayapal, she's a congresswoman now from Congressional District 7 in Seattle, and I asked her for 8 years to run for office. 8 years, and she didn't believe in herself, but I believed in her. And she said, "Me, a woman?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Woman of color?" I said, "Yes." "Immigrant?" I said, "Yes, yes, yes." And
so you should definitely have a signed copy of her of her biography. You have to forgive me, I forget the title, but you know the book I'm talking about, right?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah, no, you're definitely owed a signed copy of that. At
Totally. So these are the things. This is the struggle. We used to get arrested together at 1002nd Avenue, Seattle, outside the immigration court. And when this facility opened in 2005 in Tacoma Detention, I was outside protesting. I never thought 21 years later I will be inside. Never in my wildest dream. But this is the times we live in. And 18 years ago, we went to Washington D.C. for comprehensive immigration reform. And at that time, it was only one senator, Senator John McCain, which was in passing this. And guess what? Yeah, we were so close to get that passing, and we didn't. And we thought it would get better. And then Obama got elected and this and that, and we thought, okay, we need to go home. No. Our work continues.
We need to continue pressure.
Yes, exactly.
So, just you brought this up, the ICE Detention Center, Northwest Detention Center. You've been inside.
Yes.
If you were comfortable, I know it has been so harrowing, and like you mentioned, the intergenerational trauma that is now your family has inherited and you're going to work through. But if you could share a little bit for those who are listening, what was that like? What did you see inside, experience?
Oh, so much. Just in 1 week, two men in my pod tried to take their own lives. It's several people who did that. It was you can see the results speak for themselves. It's the people of color. You can see the results speak for themselves. It's the people of color which are inside, of course. And you can see who they're targeting. And you can see the results of the contracts with Palantir. And, we know his views. Women should not have a right to vote, and his personal views. And people of color and poor people should not have the right to vote. So
We're seeing more and more, yeah.
Yeah, so this is what's running the country. This is where billions of dollars of our collective energy, our collective taxpayer dollars are given to. This kind of folks. Exactly. So why should we expect any better results? I mean, when I was going for the citizenship interview, I was thinking maybe it's so many, it's 26 years, they will do the right thing. No. Melissa said, no, they're gonna abduct you. I said, no, it's been so long, they will do about time. But guess what? She was right. And it all started after 9/11 when the OGAs, other governmental agencies, intelligence agencies, etc., wanted me to frame innocent Americans as terrorists, and I refused to do that. When I did not take that. This is where it started. We need to know. I know two countries, one before 9/11, one after 9/11. I know two militaries, one before 9/11 and one after 9/11, and it's the same military. So when they wanted to bribe me that, I can write my own paycheck every month, I will never have to wear the uniform again, and this and that. And, there were billions of dollars at stake. Different agencies were fighting for the billions of dollars. And they wanted me to help them, And so, but I cannot live with, framing an innocent person as a terrorist, and they get, triple, quadruple promotions, and they get billions of dollars of our taxpayer funding. No, this is just wrong. So that's where it all started. And they said, if you don't do that, your citizenship wouldn't be coming. You're just a legal permanent resident. We'll make your life hell. And it has been the same case.
That's not right. And, I just want to highlight that, again, you have a book out, and I know you talk a lot about this in your book, and we'll make sure that we highlight your book on our Instagram, as well as in the comments, or rather the description section on our YouTube channel, as well as Spotify, and description, our Spotify, our Spotify page, rather, pardon me. But I do want to just circle back to something. And also, I just want to add, I really appreciate your insight with that. It's, again, the fact that you had to go through that is a crime. It's criminal, and it's disgusting. And now, in the last couple of weeks, there have been progress on a couple of bills in the Washington State Legislature, both, as you mentioned, to highlight, or rather to require safety inspection of the facility, as well as prevent, or rather as well as requiring ICE agents to unmask, as well as requiring, if memory serves, there's also a bill to specifically protect Washingtonians and to allow those. No, that's more of a local thing. A local measure to allow owners of private property to put up signs that say ICE is not allowed on this property without warrant. Zahid, and I would like Melissa to chime in on this as well. So you were in the state legislature this week, Melissa. I don't know if you were as well, but
We
could you
both were.
Yes.
thoughts, both of you, on some of this legislation and where it's going, and maybe even an update on it?
It's going in the right direction overall. One of the
Mhm.
things that drives me up the wall about politics is how slow it is. We have been seeing the federal overreach and the intense abuse on our communities for well over going into a year now. And I mean, 6 months ago, I was speaking at someone else's rally for Kim Van Van, and I named it directly that ICE is acting as a terrorist entity right now. That's what they are doing. They're imposing terror on our communities for political gain. And yet, the tools to slow roll this have to work their way through the process. But we do have dedicated people who are doing that work and pushing things through the process. I'm really grateful to our friends, Senators Orwell and Trudeau, among others, taking the lead on that SB 6286, the detention fines bill that would put serious fines on the detention center for refusing to let Washington state health inspectors in. The absolute bare minimum that we need is oversight in there. My husband lived through conditions where, I mean, the food is inadequate at best. Mental health care is often, after someone tries to kill themselves, oh, we're going to put them in solitary confinement for management convenience. No, that doesn't help anything. And medical care, quote unquote, was too often medical neglect, even rising to the level of medical violence. The absolute bare minimum we need is oversight and imposing fines in order to get that. I mean, money is the only language that this private contractor is going to listen to. There are others that are making good progress, and I'm pleased with them. But just tonight, earlier this evening, Zahid and I were just testifying in Ways and Means in support of the detention fines bill. So I sincerely hope that makes it all the way through. But it does feel like so little. It really does feel like so little, so late in the game. This has been existing for over 2 decades now. And at the federal level, the money's appropriated. ICE has been stocking up on handguns. We know that they've plugged into all the databases. We know they're watching our license plates. We know they have every intention of taking this to the next level. They're buying warehouses, for God's sake. And yet we also know that civil, local pushback matters, is effective. We're seeing across the country, we're seeing communities push back, we're seeing states push back, we're seeing cities push back, find ways to exert oversight, find ways to say not in our backyard, not in our name. And I really am grateful for the shared education that we all had. We all learned about the Holocaust. We all learned about how these things are introduced gradually and the dehumanization escalates over time. And we all were taught about how communities were able to say, oh no, like that concentration camp over the hill, like I had no idea what they were doing. We learned that when we were young, and some of us remember, they came for, and we're standing up for each other. So I do have hope, but it's going to take a lot of fight.
You know what? One thing that I think of, I just thought of, was, and I bring this up not just because it's Black History Month, but also because and Zahid, you brought up earlier that one of the cornerstones of American history has been a fight to expand civil human rights to everyone, and that shared fight amongst all of us, especially folks of color and women, including white women, and people who have not been considered fully citizens. In that original dividing line of race, created that division between those who are free, those who are not, those who are citizens, those who are cattle, those and those who were not even considered equal under the law. And one of the tools that they used to enforce that were slave catcher patrols. And in fact,
exactly,
that I've often seen a number of people push back on these days when people compare ICE to Gestapo or compare ICE to terrorists, or something with more negative connotation, is that in our history, we have seen deputized or empowered individuals empowered to violate the rights of others and to hold them against their will and to deprive them of human dignity with slave patrols,
You're
with
exactly right.
those with people who were targeted specifically because of who they are, and they were they were imprisoned and then their bodies sold off and used as labor and as property. And today, in a lot of these private facilities, that while and correct me if I'm wrong, Zahid, while in the Northwest Detention Center they are not utilizing prisoners as labor, that, like Melissa, you highlighted it, this is a privately owned facility that someone is making money
Mhm.
hand over fist
Mhm.
off of depriving our neighbors of their rights,
I can't hear you.
rights enshrined in the Constitution. And yeah. But anyway, before
It's
I
infuriating.
forget, oh, sorry.
So,
Sorry, what?
it is happening in other detention centers. It's just not happening in our detention center because there
Yeah.
was a lawsuit. Because they used to do that, $1 a day. They used to do that, and they did it for a long time. Then there was a lawsuit. That's why it's not happening here, but it's still happening in the southern detention centers all over.
So I want to so this is going to be a hybrid show, and we'll certainly have other opportunities, and we're definitely going to have you on. But with the last 4 minutes before we go to break and before we switch to our pre-recorded interview with Senator Saldaña, who's going to discuss her King County race, I wanted to just get a feel from you two about this sentiment that recently King County Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda wrote in an op-ed that in order to fight the Trump administration and the excesses of the Trump administration, their unconstitutional activity, King County and the city of Seattle are going to need revenue to do that. What are your thoughts on some of these proposals at the state level or motions at the local level to tax the rich in order to quote unquote Trump proof our communities?
I think taxing the rich has been a long time coming. I have enough history and economics understanding to know that back when we had a 95% marginal tax rate on the wealthiest folks, we had the strongest economy the world had ever seen, because all of that excess revenue, that wealth that was accumulating at the top, was being reinvested where it belonged, in the communities and the societies and the infrastructure that gave rise to their ability to procure that wealth. We should not be allowing predatory exploitation to calcify and seize all of our communities' money at the top. We need to be recirculating that, and that's been true for a long, long time. So basically, any move towards taxing the rich and investing in protecting our communities, the ones who are the real wealth of America, the actual economic engine of our society, and more than economics, the human beings who are here, the people who make up our city, our country, our state, that is absolutely a step in the right direction, and we should be pursuing it with all deliberate speed.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Zahid, I want to give you a final word. We have 1 minute before we go to our commercials. What do you want to say to our audience about either the continuing struggle against these human rights abuses, or about your story, or about both?
So inside, I learned a lot, and I interviewed lots of folks because I interview. So I worked for a Surgeon General as a mental health specialist. That was my primary MOS. So we need to, first and foremost, I'll give you an example. This guy from Eastern Washington has been living there for 20 years, had kids and family and everything, never any problem with the law. His wife pushed him to get a driver's license. As soon as he got the driver's license, he got arrested. So you need to know there's few different ways the Department of Licensing is sharing that data. One of those holes, back-end holes, has been plugged. Others are open. So same with license plus plate readers, and they are 24/7 cameras. When our city, our county, our state, collective taxpayers, sales tax and all that, paid for those things, and now they're sharing that and they're selling the same product that we paid for to the federals. It should not be allowed. That's why the city after city now is unplugging those license plate readers and other things. this 24/7 surveillance. We always know when they increase the surveillance on communities of color, we have again and again in the history of our country, we have seen the results. So this over-policing needs to end. And many years ago, I asked for Department of Licenses Director Pamela Gallagher's resignation, and she resigned the next day. And I think we are at the same place again. That why they're sharing all the data. There's a great University of Washington professor. I will share that slides with you. And this is what's happening here and now. And this is how people go and do their things and do address change and this and that. And then the ICE arrests them, abducts them.
Yeah. And
thank you.
Thank you for that. That's an important point. And so before we go to a break, I just want to point out for our listeners, this again is the Unmasked Agenda here on Rainier Avenue Radio, and we're glad you're joining us. We just had a great conversation with Mrs. and Mr. Melissa and Zahid Chaudhry, and also we have a Call to Conscience Museum this month. It's open past this weekend, and tours are currently happening Thursdays and Fridays from 3 to 7 p.m. But before I forget, thank you so much, Melissa, Zahid, for joining us. And we will have you back on the show in due time and continue to follow the story. And feel free to check out the Call of Conscience exhibit that is, and you can get your tickets at calltoconscience.world. And also feel free to donate to Rainier Avenue Radio via Venmo. And with that, when we come back, we will air our interview with Senator Rebecca Saldaña of 37th. Right on.
Take care, Cliff. Thank you so much.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. I've done interviews on this lots of times. It's always been fun.
On computer?
On the computer.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 anytime by downloading the free TuneIn app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio. And remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update.
A teacher who hurt their back and got prescribed opioids. A daughter trying to cope with a loss in the family. A friend silently struggling, thinking they'll be a burden if they ask for help. People with addiction come from all walks of life. And the truth is, they stand a better chance at recovery with our support. Reaching out and sharing local resources can make all the difference. Don't count them out. More people recover with support. Find more ways to help at supportaddictionrecovery.com. supportaddictionrecovery.com.
Fellas, your mental health matters, and it's time we talked about it. Join us every Monday at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time on Rainier Avenue Radio for the Men's Mental Health Show. Real conversations, real stories, real tools to help you navigate life's challenges with strength and honesty. Whether you're tuning in from the car, the gym, or your couch, this is your space to breathe, learn, and grow. That's Mondays at 5:30 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio, where men's voices and men's wellness take center stage.
So I needed to check my kids' immunization records for their school. My doctor told me I could get them quickly online, but I couldn't figure out how. Thankfully, I could turn to Link to Care WA for help. With Link to Care WA, I was able to learn how to use online health portals, use telehealth to talk to my doctor virtually, and even apply for jobs online. I called their free hotline and got help from a real person. Call Link to Care WA at 866-757-1832 or visit linktocarewa.org.
Women Empowerment Talk Radio, your community connection to business success. Tune in weekly to RainierAvenueRadio.world. Listen and learn from local and national guest speakers, providing resources and knowledge for the everyday business owner. Women Empowerment Talk Radio, weekly on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
This February, Rainier Avenue Radio presents the 2026 Call to Conscience Black History Month celebration. This year features a special tribute to Lenny Wilkins, honoring his legacy on and off the court. A powerful Black History Month installation on African Americans in the Metro League. An original African-rooted storytelling performed by Arsalan Ibrahim. Exhibits, tributes, live radio, and conversations that connect generations. Call to Conscience 2026 at the historic Columbia City Theater. Learn more at calltoconscience.world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Speak Up Seattle, we are RainierAvenueRadio.world, the station that cares.
Don't forget.
on Rainier Avenue Radio. Hello, hello, hello. We are just interviewing Melissa and Zahid Chaudhry, and now we are going to bring you a pre-recorded interview with Senator Rebecca Saldaña of the 37th Legislative District, which comprises the Rainier Valley, on her run for King County Council District 2. And then next week, we will have on an interview with Port Commissioner Toshiko Hasagawa, who is also running for that same position on the King County Council. So enjoy. Hello, faithful viewers. You are listening to the Unmasked Agenda. This is not a live recording. I am coming to you on a sunny Sunday here in Seattle, and you are watching this on hopefully a not gloomy Thursday. Anyway, I am honored to be here with the great and legendary Senator Rebecca Saldaña of the 37th Legislative District, and she is here with us to talk about her King County Council race for the District 2 seat, which is squarely in the 37th. So without further ado, how are you, Senator?
I'm doing great this morning. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's see. Do you just want to share with us why you're running for King County Council? And if you could just help us understand from the perspective of the kind of time we're in right now with a really adversarial federal government. And I mean, you're doing all this great work in the legislature. So why leave now?
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's a great honor to be here, and I'm excited to share with your listeners why I, after 10 years of serving in the state Senate, I'm ready to come back home and be closer to our community and continue the work that we've been always doing, is organizing to make sure that government is actually making lives better for regular people, especially working families and our communities that are furthest from opportunities. So I think that's part of it, is that during the first Trump administration, I was as executive director of a local nonprofit that brings labor and community folks together, and making the case that if we want to achieve our climate goals, a thriving economy, that we have got to center racial justice and making sure that communities most impacted are leading, and that government is being responsive to their goals and to actually achieve those things together. And so I think we were doing that great work, and then Trump came in, and a lot of us were afraid. My little children and my coworkers' children were afraid about what was going to happen if he got in power. And so when it became clear that he was, and there was an open Senate seat because Pramila Jayapal had gone to serve and fight at the federal level, and we wanted to make sure that we had an organizer defending in the 37th in the state Senate. And so I went, and because of our community's amazing strength and resilience and assets that we have in our community, was really able to bring that to the legislature. And over that 10 years, we've done a lot to Trump-proof our state. And I can talk more about that. But I think, and we've also done a lot to undo some historic harms, to make sure that our own law enforcement and peace officers are accountable and held accountable when they overuse their own power, and make sure that our law enforcement is being trained on de-escalation, that they are including people from our communities, that they are being equipped to be able to be better partners with our communities, and recognizing that our armed peace officers are not really what real public safety looks like. That real public safety is about investing in transformative healthcare that recognizes mental health and substance use disorders are actual healthcare issues and diseases that need to be treated from a public health perspective. It means investing in prevention, folks. So I know I've gotten a little long, but I think part of it is like we've done a lot of trying to free space up from the state government to be able to allow our local communities to have more resources and tools. And now, as we're facing this second Trump administration, I want to bring all that work that I've done with community at the state level and bring it back home, be closer and local to demonstrate how do we actually implement. And with Gurmai and Katie in executive branch at the local level, being able to be a partner with them to actually demonstrate that in hard times, even with difficult budgets, if you have values, if you're with the people, you can get a lot done. And this is actually the moment where we demonstrate where our values are and how are we going to make sure that our democracy, our local democracy, is strong and connected to our people.
So I want to clarify something because a theme kept coming up, right? It's like bringing a lot of this work home locally. And by the way, thank you for that explanation. It's perfect. And also, don't worry, it's Sunday. I know I'm going to put my words through this. I just appreciate you making the time. So bringing this work home locally, what specific tools does the county have to help Trump-proof our city and our region?
Yeah. So when we passed Keep Washington Working, which says that we cannot use our state resources, our Washington taxpayers' dollars, neither our state nor our locals should be.
And were you a sponsor on that? I thought you were.
I was a co-sponsor. It was actually in 2017. I was brand new, and Senator Wellman had worked with the Latino Civic Alliance, and so I would say I was her the organizing partner with her, working on the Senate side to make sure that we had the strongest policy in place, and also making sure that it actually would really deliver. Because it's one thing to make great promises, but if you don't have the ability to actually defend it in court and be able to make sure that it's there when people need it, then it just sounds good, but it doesn't actually make a difference. And so that's what Keep Washington Working is. And it required constant vigilance to make sure that our state agencies data sharing practices or policies continue to get updated, because this Trump administration is not even behaving like the last Trump administration. And so we've had to really double down and make sure that we are putting in extra safeguards, because he's no longer respecting HIPAA. He's no longer respecting his own federal laws, let alone morality.
He's like, what rule of law? What decency?
Yeah, but I mean, and I speak about Keep Washington Working because last year we have a new grant program and gave locals, including King County Taxing Authority, to support public safety. But it was really important when we talk about public safety, it is much more expansive public safety. So those dollars can be used to strengthen our crisis care centers and behavioral health professionals in the field. It can be used to add more officers. It could be used in creative ways around public health and prevention. But in order to get those grants or have that taxing authority, locals need to demonstrate that they have their own plans in practice and in place to make sure that they're abiding by Keep Washington Working. So I think there's a lot we can do in terms of really King County is the first line of defense for public health and safety.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely one thing we can do.
For sure. And I just want to follow up on that. So in terms of public safety, what are your thoughts on like flock cameras and other surveillance equipment that have been used by a number of jurisdictions, particularly both city and county?
Yeah. Well, there's legislation going on this year that I've been very supportive of, along with a lot of our community organizations, to rein in how flock cameras and not, in the city of Seattle uses a different company, but same in terms of not having the safeguards in place. I think our county, where we use our cameras the most, is actually with our public transit, and making sure that our bus rapid transits can move quickly through the region. And on those cameras, we've already had much stronger enforcement. And as vice chair of transportation for many years, when we were allowing cameras to be used instead of just law enforcement out on the streets and pulling people over, how to balance that, because and so we put in a lot of strong language, worked with ACLU to make sure that it was as strong as it could be.
Absolutely. So I want to just kind of swiftly talk about ICE, because for a lot of, even though it's a federal agency, it's on everyone's mind. And in just the other day, actually, your opponent and Port Commissioner Toshika Hasagawa and Seattle City Councilmember Alexis Mercedes Rink announced a series of measures on within both of their jurisdictions in order to undermine ICE. So this is kind of a two-part question. The first part is, what have you done at the well, you did already
I
discuss
can
this a
talk a
little
little bit more about it, though.
Yeah, of course. And then the second part is I feel like you've already talked a bit about it, but just kind of to crystallize it, maybe hone in on it. What would you do at the county level if you were to be elected to help resist ICE?
Yeah. So, I think part of it is at the state level. Back in 2017, I worked with then Councilmember Gonzalez to secure $10 million for Immigrant Legal Defense Fund, because the best way that we support immigrants is get more money into their pockets. And, we've grown that fund over the years, I think, to about $25 million. And last year, added another 10 million of flexible funds to be able to support our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, and to be able to partner with Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, WISN, which is the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network, and refugee immigrant settling organizations to make sure that they're able to provide relief and support and counsel to immigrants, because every case is individual and every case needs to be, supported in that way. The other piece is, working with WISN during COVID to get Immigrant Worker Relief Fund, and again, getting money into the pockets of individuals and making sure that as local officials, our job is to make sure that communities have accurate information, and being able to make sure that we have local plans, state government, ports, city. They're not going to be able to save people. It's people that are going to be able to save people. So I think at the county level, where I think we have a lot of responsibility and oversight, and I know that Councilmember Barron and Mosqueda have been really pushing and leading and trying to figure out how and where the county has the strongest levers to be able to address the kidnappings of our neighbors. So I think part of it is, again, holding our King County Airport accountable, looking at that commission and what is the authority? Why do we even run a King County airport if it is not actually benefiting the people of King County, not just wealthy individuals that want to have their private jets, or becoming a fulfillment center for Amazon. So I think there's a real question of, is this airport benefiting the people of King County? What its purpose is? And if not, then we need to be talking about what's a plan exiting out, because we cannot continue to aid and abet ICE.
Why do we have like a second municipal airport, a sizable one, when SeaTac is And this is no shade on the port commissioners or anything, but and actually more on the federal government. Flights getting canceled. There was a statewide commission, right, to find a second airport in the region. We have King County Airport, like you said, it's basically being used for deportations right now in a playground for the wealthy. What about us? Why can't we use it for that instead of kidnapping people?
Exactly. So I think that's an area where I really want to dig in and see how, through D2, we really like question and interrogate what the purpose of that airport is and why are we using taxing dollars to be able to aid and abate that. So that'd be the first thing. I think the second is, King County, while we've had a race and social equity agenda for a really long time, we have not had this. It's both immigrant and refugee communities and our LGBTQ communities do not feel seen at the county level. There is not the same kind of like, where do I go for resources? So I do think there's an opportunity, not necessarily to recreate the wheel, because I think the city of Seattle has a very strong office. The state has an office. So, but how do we really leverage that at the county level? Because we do have such a diverse group of folks, especially from D2 and our South King County, that I think we can do a much better job of connecting dots and partnering with our unincorporated communities, in particular, Skyway, White Center, Vashon, East King. And I know there's been some good collaborative work that can be strengthened of making sure that all our incorporated communities have the same kind of resources, tools, and investments that immigrants that live in the city of Seattle have. So how do we make sure that the county becomes that focal point for accurate information, for legal counsel, and for helping coordinate and empower our local communities, like using our community centers as places where we can bring our neighbors together to know their rights, to do emergency plans for, because so many families, whether you're immigrant or not, don't necessarily have their power of attorneys and plans in place for how, in a moment of crisis, whether that's an ICE invasion or whether it's an earthquake or floods, of what is going to happen to to make sure that their children, their elders, the vulnerable folks have plans of safety for them.
So forgive me if I'm mischaracterizing what you're saying, but it sounds like you want to re-examine the way the county is using its resources, and particularly how that use might make us unwillingly complicit in what's happening right now. And then B, that you want to see how we can reorganize or improve the efficiency of those resources, so the county becomes kind of a one-stop resistance, resilience, and resource hub. I just made that up. Resistance, resilience, and resource hub. Hey, if you do get elected, or if Commissioner Haskowitz gets elected, feel free to use that. But it sounds like you want to do that with a lot, with the kind of resources that the county might already have or could have. Am I correct?
Yeah, 100%. And when you mentioned the resistance resiliency hubs, it makes me think, with when we passed the HEAL Act and the Climate Commitment Act, we have this overlay that 35 to 40% has to go to overburdened communities. And one of the solutions coming from communities are creating, climate resiliency hubs that become organizing centers. So they're both places for cooling and when things are hot, or warming when it's cold, but also it's a place where neighbors come to know each other and build in, resiliency to be able to face whatever crisis come ahead. And, we've been, working with community organizations around that idea for a while. And I think, again, it just reinforces for me, like, if you're doing things in a way that are centering communities most impacted, they end up having the solutions. And really, as a council member, it's about uplifting those solutions at the county level to be able to make sure that their work is supported and that we're not getting in their way.
So there are two kind of rapid fire questions I want to ask you. because I want to make sure we're using being more efficient with our
I
time.
know.
That's less about you and more about me. So kind of two-part question. One, what actions would you take to support the labor movement if elected? And then two, should we tax the rich?
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
particularly from the perspective of the county. Sorry.
yeah. Well, I think King County does have some ways, right, to engage with labor. The labor policies in place, right, are where they have the direct influence is unincorporated. But I think right now, for me, the biggest reason why I'd want to come to the county is that I know our budgets are tight. And it's not going to be easy, but it can't be done on the backs of the workers that are providing the essential public service, whether it's our public health workers, whether it's our behavioral health workers, whether it's the people at Harborview. We need to make sure that we are partnering with our frontline workers and their representatives to make sure that that we're facing the budget crisis together, not at their expense. And I think the other piece is that King County can and should be the regional leader and convener around how are we building out our regional infrastructure for housing, for stormwater, for addressing our climate change issues. And so how are we actually making sure that those are all good jobs and that they're good jobs when they're being constructed and that they're helping cultivate and create good jobs once those projects are done. And so I think that's something that I bring decades of experience of working on priority hire, community and community workforce agreements, and making sure that that we're actually figuring out ways to get mutual community benefits, both for workers and for the communities that are seeing those projects come to their neighborhoods. So
Yes.
that I'll continue to do, and this role as a county council member. And yes, we should tax the rich. I think right now it really is the state's job to do that. And so we'll be passing the millionaires tax on Monday off of the Senate floor. And I'm really working to advocate that right now there's 5% in there for locals. I really do think that the state has a responsibility to give our locals more opportunities. So looking to increase that 5%, definitely keep it. And I think another piece is, again, looking at the taxation that we have right now, how are we actually using it for more equity? And so one thing that we did last year with communities that I've been working with for decades around equitable development initiative, I passed a law last year to give the King County more authority to be able to use their funds that they currently have for that they get from short-term rental taxation, to be able to not use it for housing that includes equitable development, because when you build equitable development housing, then it anchors communities in a way that builds their wealth, builds their power, instead of just building a housing that doesn't actually center their dignity and their needs.
Yes. So we only have a few minutes left. I've known you for a long time. I have seen you fight for workers. I have seen you advocate for equitable development and affordable housing. Just through this conversation, we have learned more about your work at the state level, ever going back to, was it 2017, 2016, or 2017? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I got appointed December 12th, 2016. So my first session was 2017.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that entire time, I know from both personal experience and I definitely encourage viewers to look at your record as well, that you have been on the right side of so many issues. But just kind of like a 1-minute pitch for those that might not be familiar with you and are looking at the voting guide. Why should someone vote for you for King County Council District 2?
Thank you. Well, people should vote for me because I will always center their needs, their voices, and be open to being responsive to what we think we most need. In my history, it has been about organizing our policies to work better for working people. And at this moment of time where we have a new executive, a new mayor, and we still have a federal Trump administration, we need someone that has years of experience working with our legislature, of knowing how to make policy translate into power and justice for working people. And I believe that I bring that expertise and can really make sure that the D2 position is one that is leading solutions to address our most pressing needs of housing, of real public safety, and of making sure that we have a thriving economy that works for everyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sandra, so much for joining us. And this has been your, now weekly, but soon to be bi-weekly again, slice of political commentary, analysis, and also nerdy hot takes. So, and with that, this has been third episode, season 2 of the Unmasked Agenda. I have been your friendly neighborhood agitator, Cliff Cawthon, and yeah, stay righteous, everyone. Thank you.